Katya Richardson was a promising junior swimmer with her sights set on the Olympic trials.
I started competing when I was about 10 years old, and I just fell in love with the sport.
But the 19-year-old says she quit competitive swimming because of the alleged behaviour of her coach and what she says is a culture of toxic masculinity at her former club in Melbourne.
There was instances where the boys would spray their water bottles in my face when I was walking down the corridor. I'd be stared down a lot at the pool, up and down. I was also yelled at for sitting outside the pool because I was having anxiety attacks or I didn't feel comfortable going in the pool.
Katya says her mother suggested she raise her concerns with her new coach at the Nunawading Swimming Club, Nick Veliades.
And I said to him that I don't feel safe. The boys are taking it upon themselves to pick me up on things essentially. And all he did was raise his hand and put it in front of my face and told me to stop talking and said to me that I need to reflect on how my actions are causing the boys to behave in this way. He didn't let me explain myself. I didn't know what to do in the situation. And every time I tried to speak up, he would continue to hold his hand in my face and wouldn't let me talk. That session I left shaking. I got in the car and I had a panic attack. That was the first one I had.
Mr Veliades told 7:30 he raised his hand to stop the conversation because it was becoming repetitive and unproductive. He said the boys were upset with Katya because she was often late for training and social to the point of distraction.
My name's Nick Veliades, I'm the head swimming coach here.
Katya alleges Veliades made offensive comments to junior swimmers at the pool.
I witnessed misogynistic comments such as him telling a boy to remove a tampon out of his arse at a competition because the boy was deemed to be swimming like a girl. He also said to a group of swimmers from the same ethnicity that they all look the same with their cap and goggles on and when their cap and goggles are off. There were comments such as boys are natural leaders, girls are essentially followers, and that girls are not fit to lead the lane, whereas boys will naturally fall into that position. So as a female, I never felt confident in leading a session, and that's not how it should feel. And the boys fed on that, essentially. They knew that the coach supported that toxic masculinity, and he supported the inequality in treatment of the genders.
Mr Veliades admitted he made an inappropriate comment about a tampon, for which he had apologised. He recalled saying, because the boys in the group are faster, they naturally lead the lanes. But he said the racist comment was made by a boy in the squad of Asian background, not him. Katya made a formal written complaint to the club in March last year, alleging Mr Veliades had bullied, harassed and victimised her. Katya says when she complained, Mr Veliades told her she was not meeting squad expectations. A month later, Katya suffered a panic attack on the pool deck at the Australian Swimming Championships on the Gold Coast.
I was neglected. I was essentially gaslit for how I was feeling. I was mocked for having anxiety, and one session I just couldn't take it anymore. I just couldn't breathe. I started shaking. I'd completely lost it. I'd lost feelings in my legs, in my arms. I had a tingling sensation. I lost any sort of self-control, and I started crying, and he just watched me from a distance, and a team manager had approached me and they asked me what was wrong, and I announced, I said, he's been bullying me for months.
After a 3-week internal investigation, the club concluded there was insufficient evidence to support Katya's claims of bullying, harassment and victimisation. Documents show Mr Veliades received a written warning and further behavioural training regarding appropriate workplace behaviours. The club offered Katya 2 paid counselling sessions. She appealed the club's decision, but it was dismissed. In a letter, the club said the incidents did not meet the definition of bullying and harassment. Instead, comments to you can be considered to be reasonable in the context of the coach-athlete relationship.
I left the club after the national championships because I was told that I would have to remove myself from the environment, that they were not going to remove the coach, that I needed to swim with the squad below or continue to swim with the squad that he was coaching, but he wasn't allowed to communicate with me, and that's not right.
In a statement to 7:30, Nunawading Swimming Club said its investigations were fair and robust. The club interviewed 9 witnesses who didn't substantiate Miss Richardson's allegations of bullying, harassment and victimisation. However, the investigation substantiated 2 instances of inappropriate comments, and the club took appropriate disciplinary action in response to these matters. Mr Veliates said he absolutely denied that he'd bullied, harassed or victimised any swimmer, including Miss Richardson. Like everyone, I make mistakes sometimes, and this process has been a constructive learning experience. I have fully embraced the professional development provided by the club.
Swimming Australia has got a culture, and the culture is one of fear and shame and win at all costs. It is a culture where nepotism is alive and well, and it is a culture where whistleblowers are firstly gaslit, and then secondly they're ostracised.
Lawyer Adair Donaldson is representing a group of swimmers and coaches with complaints against swimming authorities, including Katya Richardson.
The types of complaints that are common are complaints in relation to body shaming practices, complaints in relation to athletes having eating disorders which go unaddressed, complaints in relation to mental health issues that go unaddressed. When these issues are raised, rather than treating them as a legitimate concern, what happens is the person that comes forward and raises the concern is seen as the troublemaker.
It was Australia's most successful swim meet of all time. The team achieved a record haul of 20 medals. But in the months leading up to the Tokyo Games, serious questions were raised about the price of Olympic glory.
I've really been witness to all the people that have tried to do something about the issues in swimming in Australia throughout, my entire career. And it just, unfortunately, a lot of the time has seemed to fall on deaf ears.
In June last year, Olympic medalist Maddie Groves decided to take a stand. She withdrew from the trials for the Tokyo Games. She tweeted, "Let this be a lesson to all misogynistic perverts in sport. You can no longer exploit young women and girls. Time's up."
So I was just left so frustrated from trying to sort of resolve the situation, just feeling like that was never going to happen and that there wasn't really any other option for me than to sort of do something like give up on my dreams of trying to make a second Olympic team and make a very public statement.
The explosive tweet made international headlines, and Swimming Australia appointed an independent panel to examine her claims. It received 150 submissions from swimmers, coaches and officials. Their allegations have been kept confidential, but Swimming Australia has released the panel's 46 recommendations, with an unconditional apology to those affected.
We do apologise unreservedly and am absolutely thankful that the panel has done the amazing work that they've done, which has enabled us to shine a light on what we need to do to be better.
It's been a huge journey since I made that tweet. I'm really glad that I did it. I was really hoping that it would, have some impact like this, and it's turned out quite well. I'm very happy that these recommendations have been made, and I never would have thought that, giving up on going to the Olympics would be, one of the best decisions I've probably ever made.
Among the panel's key recommendations are quotas for female coaches, ending the use of skin fold tests to assess body composition, banning the term physique to avoid body shaming, putting a coach's behavioural standards ahead of performance standards, and never again sending an all-male coaching team to national and international competitions.
I think the recommendations are good. Whether they address the sort of core reasoning behind this sort of toxic culture that's been uncovered, I'm not sure. I think people would like to know the timeline of what is going to happen and when we can expect to start seeing some results, really.
And unfortunately, from somebody that specialises in assisting survivors of abuse, it was Groundhog Day.
Donaldson says there have been multiple reviews into the culture of swimming, dating back to Australia's poor performance at the London Olympics in 2012.
I, like many people, am quite sceptical that they will be able to address these significant issues, because the same people that were involved in the sport back in 2012 are the same people involved in the sport now. Swimming Australia should come out publicly and say that there are no current coaches in the sport that have had previous complaints made against them in relation to inappropriate behaviours. If that's what the position is, then come out publicly and say that. But if it's not the position, then why are those people still involved in the sport?
Groves and Donaldson say Swimming Australia should release the full report, with names redacted, to protect the privacy of those who made submissions.
It's been public funds that have actually paid for the production of the report. So why shouldn't the general public understand what is going on within our highest profile, publicly funded sport?
I think the report should be released because the people that spoke to the panel can be de-identified, and I think people in the community would like to know who is responsible for the behaviour that's led to some of these recommendations being made.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.